All right, good afternoon, everyone. This is Dave Nadler, once again, National Weather Service, Peachtree City. I'm joined here by Keith as well. Lots to cover this afternoon as things are beginning to evolve with this system, so we'll go ahead and jump right into it. Just wanted to touch on the highlights that we have real fast, the watches, warnings, advisories. Just like yesterday, we do have a flood watch in effect for the entire area. We are expecting an additional 2 to 3 inches of rain between now and midday tomorrow. The heaviest rainfall is going to come in sometime after dark tonight and then through the overnight hours. So yeah, we've had some rain already, and especially in the northern half of the forecast area, but the heaviest rainfall is yet to come. So that's the flood watch that's in effect. Moving ahead, we do have a wind advisory for a good portion of our forecast area, basically through midday tomorrow. As the system approaches and that cold air damming, that wedge from the northeast, that pressure gradient tightens up, we are going to see some pretty strong wind gusts overnight tonight into the early morning hours. You can see the graphic on the right. This is a snapshot of the max wind gust that we'll see overnight tonight. And we're looking at a pretty good area between 25 and 35 mile per hour winds, not consistently for like 12 hours straight, but at times we can see these gusts approach these values. So we'll get into the details with the ice and snow, but especially for areas even outside of the winter weather areas, heavy rainfall, saturated soils, these types of wind gusts can certainly increase the risk of some downed trees and stuff like that. So that's going to be a concern as we head into tonight, into tomorrow, away from the winter weather areas. Moving ahead, speaking of winter weather, here's the latest winter storm warning, winter weather advisories. The areas that are in pink are under a winter storm warning right now, basically through tomorrow night. Right now, we didn't really change a whole lot from what you saw earlier this morning or from what was issued this morning. There is a couple of areas to watch, mainly in the far southern areas of the winter weather advisory and to the west as well, as these areas could see a little bit more than kind of what we're looking at, and also they could see less. So it's kind of a little tricky right now, and even in areas in the winter storm warning where we're expecting some snow and sleet up to 3 inches with higher amounts in the higher elevations, up in Union, Towns, White, Lumpkin County, even down in northern Hall County, Banks. The snow, sleet, and ice accumulations, what we're going with right now, can change over the next 6 to 12 hours as things come together overnight. But this is kind of what we're going with right now. At this point, we're not expecting to expand the advisories or warnings, but that's not out of the question as we head through the night into the morning hours tomorrow, especially if we start to see some areas get more ice or snow accumulation than what we're initially expecting right now. Okay, here's the latest radar and observations. You can see a pretty good wide plume of moisture precipitation streaming in from the west. We already have basically areas north of I-20. So far today, I've already seen rainfall between 1/4 to 1/2 an inch, and some areas have seen upwards of 3/4 of an inch of rain already. You can see the temperatures north of I-20, we're in the 30s to lower 40s. South of I-20, generally in the low to mid 40s with some pockets of upper 30s. So it's cold out there. And if you look closely across northeast Georgia, parts of North Carolina and South Carolina, as these areas start to get more precipitation and that precipitation starts to fall in the form of sleet and snow, those temperatures are going to fall fast. And as that happens, and we talk about the wedge and that cold air damming along the east side of the Appalachians, that's the area we're going to have to watch as it starts to drift and move to the south and west overnight tonight into tomorrow morning. And that could be what sort of changes our precipitation type from rain to freezing rain, or freezing rain to sleet, sleet to snow. So just want to give you a quick snapshot of what we're seeing right now. The next slide will show you minimum temperatures for tonight. We are expecting temps to slowly fall overnight towards daybreak into the lower 30s, and there's going to be some spots that are going to approach 32 degrees or lower, especially just north of Athens to Gainesville, Dahlonega, up towards the east side of Blairsville, anywhere in Towns, Union, White, Lumpkin County, Banks County. You guys expect to by morning to be between like 31, 32, 33 degrees, and And the images to your right is a snapshot of one of our high resolution models for, this is showing at about 7 o'clock tonight, basically precipitation type. A lot of rain over the area, but up in the higher elevations, you can see in the blue it's snow. The orange area is actually kind of a sleet snow mix. As I push that forward from 7 o'clock to around midnight, I want you to see how the area of frozen precipitation, in this case the orange, which is kind of a mix of freezing rain, sleet, and snow, starts to expand. And then by 3 a.m., it expands even more to the south and west, basically in the areas that we have an advisory and a warning for. And then by 6 a.m., the heavier precipitation starts to shift to the east, but we're still going to see that that mix occurring over a good portion of northeast Georgia, all the way down in just south of 316, but basically between Interstate 20 and 316, from Winder to Athens. So that's kind of what we're looking at, and we feel that this model has a pretty good handle of what we're expecting over the next 12 to 18 hours. Okay, so here's another model. This is for overnight tonight into Sunday morning. This is basically, you'll see a loop basically running from about midnight tonight through 7 o'clock in the morning on Sunday, with the low temperatures to the left for overnight tonight into Sunday morning. And you can see that expansion of the freezing rain, sleet, snow area through the nighttime hours into the early morning hours. So basically the reason why we're kind of showing you two different high resolution models is that what are kind of our gut feeling over the last couple of days as the high resolution models start to show this, our confidence is increasing that we are going to see some frozen precipitation in the areas that are under an advisory and or warning at this point. Okay, so real quickly, going into Sunday, through the day on Sunday, temperatures are going to be slow to warm during the morning hours, but by afternoon, we think that we should see temperatures generally in the mid to upper 30s. There's definitely going to be some pockets that are colder, especially north of I-85, up into the higher elevations, the areas of concern that we've already been talking about. The model that I'm showing you on the right is basically a quick loop from about 12 o'clock through 8 o'clock Sunday evening. The heavier precipitation moves out. However, we are going to start to see this light wraparound precip behind the low, the initial low. And some of that can be in the form of rain, snow showers. And some of that mix of rain and snow could be as far south as Atlanta Metro tomorrow afternoon into the evening hours. Now, if we do see some snow kind of mix in with the rain late tomorrow into Sunday night, we don't expect temperatures to drop below freezing. They'll probably be in that low to mid 30s going into Sunday evening, Sunday night. So we don't expect any accumulations as far south as I-20. If we do see any additional accumulations, it's going to be confined to the higher elevations of north central, northeast Georgia, basically from like Fannin, Gilmer County east towards Towns and Union County at this point. Want to add anything? Yeah. All right, so let's look at the ice accumulation. Again, we're not going too crazy here, but we do expect basically from an area, Gainesville, Dahlonega north, Homer, Gainesville, Dahlonega north, that's where we expect, or at least where we have the highest confidence to see some pretty significant ice accumulations approaching 1/4 of an inch, if not more. And the big caveat here is we were talking about that wedge of cold air from the north and east. If that colder air comes in a little bit sooner tonight as that heavier precipitation moves through, then these ice accumulation amounts or sleet and snow accumulations could be higher. So we're really going to have to watch that, and we hope everybody in the advisory and warning areas, especially right now in the counties there, are already prepared to deal with some significant issues with winter precipitation, travel concerns, things like that. The other concern is with the wind. If we're going to see the gusty, strong winds develop overnight. The combination of that plus the wet soils is going to increase the threat of downed trees and power lines, and then any ice accumulation or snow accumulation on these trees and power lines is just going to add to the potential there of seeing some more downed trees and power lines. So, yeah, by tomorrow morning, we could definitely be looking at a lot, some significant impacts with this system, especially up in this area where we see the highest ice amounts. Snow and sleet forecast, basically looking at in the northern 4, 5, 6 counties of our northeast area, we expect anywhere from maybe 2 to 4 inches with some higher amounts in the higher elevations. Again, it's going to be a little tricky because we could see a mix of snow, sleet, kind of transition to freezing rain and then back to sleet late tonight into the morning hours, even in the highest elevations. So yeah, you might get a quick 2 to 3 inches in the higher elevations of like Towns, Union County, up into Rabun County, but then, you know, things could transition to like a freezing rain or sleet, and then back to sleet or snow like tomorrow during the day. So it's really tricky on amounts, but this is where we think the actual snow sleet accumulation is going to occur through tomorrow morning at this point. Okay, one quick thing I wanted to point out, what you're seeing here, this is something we actually briefly talked about in our partners workshop on Tuesday. This is a new thing. It's called the Winter Storm Severity Index that kind of incorporates a lot of different variables to come up with like an impact assessment, if you will, with respect to snow amounts, ice accumulation, snow load, like the weight of the snow, the wind, and urban factors. It throws all these variables, not to mention a bunch of climatology, like looking back over 30 years, and it comes up with this this threat index. So this is the first year that we're actually experimenting with it. Some other offices across the northern half of the U.S. have done it before. Over the last few years, it's got some real positive feedback with respect to impacts with each winter storm that impacts the area. So as you can see, I'm going to just quickly zoom in, and you can see the areas that we kind of have the advisory and warnings out for are in that minor to moderate impact or index, which kind of lines up pretty well. So if you're in that basically Northern Hall, Banks County, up into White County, Lumpkin, Towns, Union, you're basically kind of, we can expect that it says like roughly equated to NWS warning level criteria, which you're in the warning. Definite impacts to those with little preparation, perhaps a day or two of recovery time just based off of snow or ice accumulation. So this is kind of where we're at with this, and just to, it does update, I believe, every time we do an update to our forecast, or at least once or twice a day. So we may show this again in an email, but we just wanted to introduce this to a lot of you since you haven't seen it before. And this is our first winter storm that we've actually had for the season. So, all right, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Keith to talk a little bit about, that was a lot of information talking about tonight into tomorrow and tomorrow night. Keith's going to talk briefly about, because this system's going to linger over the next few days, what the potential threats and impacts can be going into Sunday night and Monday.
Okay, so this is Keith, and so one thing we can think about with this system, it's really a 1-2 punch. We get the main threat and the heavy rain stuff coming through tomorrow, overnight tonight into tomorrow, and then tomorrow night into Monday, we transition into the upper level system that's driving it, moves in from the northwest. And what you see on the screen here is, again, one of our high-res models going from Sunday night into Monday morning, showing you basically a look at forecast radar, a lot of showers around. A lot of the profiles that we looked at suggest, again, turns very cold aloft, and we're only warm in the lowest, 1,000 to 2,000 feet. And so it's a function of how deep that warm area is down near the surface. What I'm showing you on the left-hand side is temperatures into Monday morning. And the area to focus on really when we look at the profiles is up there where I have highlighted in yellow and across the mountain counties, where just based on what we're looking at, there could be more snow mixing in, especially. Doesn't mean that it won't mix in further south, but where we may have some issues, and you guys up there in the north and northwest will need to pay attention, especially as we start to talk schools going into Monday morning. But we'll come around to this part of the forecast, obviously, once we get through this first phase, which is in the tomorrow morning. For the most part, surface temps look like they're going to be above freezing into Monday morning. Again, some of the higher elevations may see some temperatures at or just below freezing, and so we can't rule out issues. You can see the high-res model here is trying to pick up on the ridge line across far north Georgia and pitting all snow. You'll see that trend continue into Monday. So as I roll into Monday during the day, one thing, again, we looked at thermal profiles suggest all rain and or snow mix. No freezing rain or sleet. It's either going to be rain or snow or a rain-snow mix. When we looked at the models, it isn't going to be where it's like a widespread cover the whole area. What you're looking at on the right-hand side is sort of a radar look during the afternoon hours. It looks like it will be spotty. But again, depending on your elevation, I think elevation matters here. Elevation, the higher you go, the more likely it's going to be all snow. The closer you get and down into the valleys, it could be changing over to rain just because it's falling through a little bit warmer layer. Trying to indicate that in our actual forecast grids on the left-hand side, you see we've got a rain-snow mix across a good section of the northwest portion of Georgia, with snow mainly confined, again, to the higher elevations. Again, elevation is going to dictate that. And so we may actually see accumulating snow north and west in those especially elevated areas. Doesn't mean that we won't see it in some of the valleys briefly, but again, we think temperatures during the day, which on this slide is showing you mid to upper 30s for the most part, going into that period where we're seeing the rain-snow mix. In terms of elevation or accumulations, you see that on the bottom right. We look like, again, the far north counties could see 1 to 2 in some of the higher elevations, up to 1 in some of the other lower elevations. Again, doesn't mean you won't see it further to the west, southwest, say Rome, Canton, Dalton. Doesn't mean you won't see some snow and rain mixing in, but again, everything's pointing to at least temperatures during that time period being above freezing. But obviously, we'll have to fine-tune this as we get to it, to the forecast. And then going Monday night into Tuesday, everything starts to dry out as the upper level system starts to shift away. The precip will be ending late on the day Monday. However, with that exiting system, we are seeing some colder air coming in behind it. And so we're expecting Monday night into Tuesday morning being our coldest night, especially across the north. And so those of you that are dealing with precip, whether it be snow and or rain, may be dealing with a refreeze situation going into Tuesday morning. And it's something we'll have to evaluate, obviously, as we get closer to Tuesday morning.
All right, thanks, Keith. We're pretty much wrapped up here, guys. Just wanted to, I know it's a lot of information. We just want to kind of summarize that. Look, we are looking for a potentially high impact winter weather event, especially for our far northeastern counties, with an extended period of freezing rain, sleet, and snow, regardless of amounts, which there's still some uncertainty. We kind of showed you what we're thinking right now, but that could fluctuate either way. So we're really gonna have to watch that overnight. I would kind of lean towards some higher amounts than what we're actually going with right now. So if we start to get into that half inch or to 3/4 of an inch of ice, or mixing with sleet and snow, that's definitely going to create some more problems than just getting 1/10 of an inch of ice. So just kind of prepare for that. Again, the winds are going to be a big concern as well late tonight into tomorrow morning, especially with the saturated grounds and any areas that have ice accretion on the trees and power lines. The winds are just going to make that worse, or that increase that threat of down trees and power lines. Hopefully, it looks like the winds are going to slacken a little bit tomorrow afternoon into tomorrow night. So hopefully that'll be good as the heavier precip moves off to the east. As far as any additional briefings, we don't have anything formal scheduled at this point, but we're going to talk about doing another one potentially tomorrow, just to address any lingering concerns, especially heading into the work week and school for Monday into Tuesday. So we'll address that through an email, and then keep everybody sort of up to date through the night tonight into the morning hours through emails at this point. Of course, you can keep in touch with us. We have different ways, of course, of you guys reaching us. And this is being recorded. We'll be able to share this with everybody on our partner email list. And yeah, we'll just